This is the first of 3 videos that is going to summarize the story of the Bible. And in it, you're going to hear the gospel message. The word gospel itself means a good announcement, good or beautiful announcement. So it starts with God creating everything, the heavens and the earth. And the earth was there without anything on it. There was the deep of the sea. And God created everything and made everything, put everything in place in the first 5 days, with animals and plants and sea and clouds and rain and all of this, birds. Then on the 6th day, he made man, Adam. And it says that he made Adam out of the dirt. He took the dirt and he breathed into it and made Adam. Then he made woman. But first he looked at the animals. God looked at the animals to see if any of them were suitable as a partner with Adam. And a lot of us overlook that. But he looked at the animals. And even a dog and even a cat were not suitable partners for the man. So as much as our modern cultures love to replace children with cats and dogs, or for a single woman to have a cat instead of a husband, or a single man to have a dog instead of a wife, God said that's not good, that you need a different kind of partner. Man was not suitable to have an animal as a partner. So God put Adam to sleep. In his sleep, he took a rib out of him. And instead of making woman from the dirt like Adam was made, God made Eve, the woman, out of a rib from the man. So woman is not made from the dirt. Woman is made from the man's rib, and the man is made from the dirt. Now, the first job that man had was as a gardener. Both Adam and Eve lived in paradise. That's the word in the Greek. It's the Garden of Eden, this paradise. And Adam was put in charge of tending to the garden. That was his job. The first job in history for any man was as a gardener. Then one day, a serpent came to Eve and said, God told you not to eat that fruit, but he's really jealous of you. Because God had told Adam and Eve, don't eat this fruit from this one tree. This is the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Before that, they didn't have knowledge of good and evil. But this fruit, if they eat it, they will know what good and evil are. And then they will choose to do evil. So the serpent said, God's really jealous of you. He's jealous of you. You're going to be like him if you eat that fruit. And Eve listened to that, and that triggered something inside of her, where she looked at the fruit and she said, that fruit is beautiful. It looks really tasty. And she ate. Then she gave it to her husband to eat, Adam. And Adam listened to his wife instead of God and ate from the fruit. Then God comes and he punishes all 3 of them. Adam, Eve, and the serpent. All 3 are punished. For Adam, he says, your work is going to be far more difficult for you. And when you try to grow something, there are going to be weeds growing up alongside it. You're going to have to work much harder in order to get the ground to produce something for you. The woman, he said, you're going to have much more difficulty when having children, a lot more pain. And you're going to have this desire for your husband in such a way that he's going to rule over you. And to the serpent, who had legs at the time, God said, take away your legs and you're going to eat the dirt of the dust of the ground all the days of your existence on earth. And so he became a snake. These were the punishments for having sinned. The first sin that was ever sinned was sinned by Eve. And Eve, the name of Eve, means social life. There are two words for life in the Bible, and the first one means organismic life, the life of an organism, as an organism, having life. But the word behind Eve means social life, like a family, because Adam could finally make a family and create more people through her to have a family and have a community, a society. And so social life is what she was called, because she made it possible for Adam to have social life. First with her, secondly with the family that would come through her, and then with everything about the community that would grow from that. So then we need to talk about them being put out of paradise. God told them, said, you can't stay here anymore because you've eaten of that fruit and you now know good and evil. And so more evil you're going to do. It cannot be done here. So he put them out. And he put an angel with a flaming sword, a sword of fire, in front of the entrance to guard it, to keep Adam and Eve out of paradise. And so they went out into the world. And they had their first children and created a family and community and society. Now, let's go on down. We're going to look at a couple of people after Adam. The first one I want to look at is Enoch. It says that Enoch walked with God, and then he was no more because God took him up. He didn't taste death. That's all it says. It's a very short statement about Enoch, but Enoch was very important. The other place we read about Enoch is in the New Testament, towards the end of the Bible. It says, now Enoch, the seventh from Adam, seventh generation, prophesied about these men, the false teachers that they're talking about in the church. Prophesied about these men, also saying, behold, the Lord comes with 10,000s of his saints to execute judgment on all, to convict all who are ungodly among them of all their ungodly deeds which they have committed in an ungodly way, and of all the harsh things which ungodly sinners have spoken against him, God. So Enoch prophesies of the end, judgment. Peter also prophesies about a second destruction of humanity. The first one was the flood, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the second one is by fire that will consume the earth, including even down to the elemental parts of the earth. The chemical composition, everything will be burned up. Now, we see that in physics. If you've taken an astronomy class or a physics class, or even if you haven't, you might have heard this, that we know that our sun, which is a star, will eventually expand into a red giant and will engulf the earth, burning up everything, consuming it, melting it. Everything will melt. So even in science, we have this idea that was in the Bible 2,000 years ago, written by the Apostle Peter. It's interesting. So there are two destructions of humanity. The first one happens with the flood and Noah and the animals being saved. So you had Enoch, and one of his descendants is Methuselah. Methuselah was the oldest living man ever, even to this day. And God decided that on the time when Methuselah died, he would start the flood to destroy all of humanity. Because every thought that the humans had in their mind and in their heart, day and night, was thinking all the time how to do harmful evil. How do I do evil? Day and night. In their minds, they're thinking about how to do it. How can I make it work? How can I do this? And in their hearts, they were desiring it. They wanted to do it. And God said, I've had enough. He said, I'm going to start over. But there was Noah who was righteous in his generation, it says. So God said to Noah, he says, I'm going to save you and your family. Build me a boat. He gave him the exact dimensions and how to build it, and Noah went to building it. Most likely, people were laughing at him and jeering at him the whole time, because here's this old man building a boat. Thinks it's going to rain so much that that boat is going to save him. Well, until the year that Methuselah died, and then God opened the earth and brought rain from above and water from below, and it flooded the entire earth. But by then, God had already brought all the animals to Noah that he wanted to save. And Noah had put them in the ark. And Noah and his 3 sons were saved along with their wives. So that's 8 total. They were in the ark for 40 days. And then it stopped raining. And then eventually the water receded. And they landed and got out. And everyone was dead. So God had destroyed all of humanity at that time with the flood. It's very important. That's how bad it got. Now, a descendant of Noah was Abraham. Very important man. Abraham and Sarah, his wife. God came to Abraham and he spoke to him and he said, I'm going to promise you that you will have a son. Even in your old age, you will produce a son. Even though Sarah is far past the age where she can have children. You will have a son through her. And so God made it happen. But he said 2 things in that promise. One is that there will be a nation of people that's so vast you can't even count them, that will come from that son, that one son of yours, a nation of people, the Jews. The Jews, the Jewish people would come from that one son and create a nation. But then he said the second part of the promise is that there would be one man come out of the Jewish people who would become the savior of the world from that second destruction that's coming, that's a fire. That's Jesus. He's the Savior that was promised through Abraham via the Hebrew people, the Jews. Hebrews and Jews, synonymous. So now you know about Abraham. He had a son named Isaac. Isaac had a son named Jacob. And Jacob was the father of 12 sons. And those sons are called, the descendants of them are called the 12 tribes of Israel. That's where we get the 12 tribes of Israel, from the 12 sons of Jacob, who's the son of Isaac, who is the promised son of Abraham. And so a lot of Jews today know which tribe they are from, or if they're from 2 or 3 tribes through their lineages. But they know which son they are from. So now you know a lot about the Old Testament. This is our first video to take us through this, okay? You've got at least a foundation of the beginning of the Bible and how God set this up for the Messiah, for Jesus. We'll get to him soon enough. Now, look forward for part 2, where we talk about Moses and the Pharaoh and the desert and the Promised Land and Passover. The focus is on Passover, and you learn why. You learn why Easter is important and why the Passover that's celebrated by the Jewish people is important. We'll talk about it in our next video. May the Lord bless you as you seek Him with all your heart.